Okay, we just finished up a unit, and so that means we're going to start a new unit. And do you have any clue what the new unit is about? Yes?
Function.
It is about functions. So, the functions unit starts with a bunch of functions that we kind of hope you know, but we don't know whether you do or not. Would you just show me if you know what y equals x squared is by making a quick sketch of it? I bet you a lot of people will know this. Y equals x squared. And if you don't remember it, make sure you sketch it because you are expected to know it from now on. You should be like, recognize it, kind of like, oh, that's an octagon, or that's a square. This is a parabola. Raise your hand if you had that generally right. Okay. Now, let me tell you how we make this parabola. It goes like this. I'm making an XY chart, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of points that are on this, and then you just connect the dots. It's like if I told you the dots were here, 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 and here, you'd have been able to connect those dots, wouldn't you? So where are the dots? When I put in 0 into the function, if x is 0, what does y have to be? 0. That's why this point right there, 0, 0, exists. What if I put in 2? Well, then I'm put a 2 here. And what is 2 squared? It's 4. So then this must be 4. 2 comma 4 is on my graph. That'd be this point. How about 3? You catching on to this? 3 goes in and you get what? 9. How about negative 1? It gets squared, becomes positive 1. Good. That's like this point here, or maybe here. And I should put in 1, 1 on each side. How about negative 2? What if you square that? What do you get? 4. Positive 4. So negative 2, positive 4, that might be like that one. You getting how I'm getting these points? I'm sticking the numbers into the equation. All right, here's another one that we would hope you would know. Y equals x. Super simple. Don't overthink it. If you're like, I'm not sure what that looks like, make an XY chart. Find a bunch of points that are on it. Connect the dots. If I put in 0, I get 0. If I put in 1, I get 1. I'm starting to get a pattern here. How about if I put in 2? 2. How about negative 1? Negative 1. So then if you graph this, you get that it's a straight line running like that. Okay. See how if you forget what they look like, you can just make a chart. I'm going to give you one, in fact, that you don't even know what it looks like. Some of you know this, but then please make me an XY chart and tell me 5 points that are on it. I'm going to pause for a second and give this a try. Hint, you get to pick anything you want for X. Stick it in, see what Y would be. So here's some points. I put in 0, I get 0. I put in 1, I get 1. This is getting kind of boring. I put in 2, oh, that's more interesting. What's 2 to the third? 8. How about negative 2? Did anybody put in negative 2? If you did, you got negative 8. All right, now I'm going to graph these. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 8, negative 2, 8, negative 2, negative 8, sorry, is way down there. The one I kind of skipped over was negative 1. What's negative 1 when you put it in here? Negative 1. So then that's here. And then you just have to connect the dots. Does anybody actually remember that function now that you see it? Okay. So some of you probably saw x to the third before. But what my point is that you don't have to memorize all of them. It would be ideal if you did memorize them. But if you forgot one, you just make an XY chart and you can figure it out. All right, one more that I guess I hoped you would know, but I know you might not, for judging by other classes. Do you guys know what the square root of x looks like? If not, make an XY chart, connect the dots, and you'll be like, oh, that's where it is. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to give that one a try. Okay, so what if I put in, how about a 0? That's a little weird. What's the square root of 0? 0. What if you put in a 1? What's the square root of 1? 1. How about a 2? Ew. Square root of 2? I don't even know what that is. I know it's some decimal. But then I'm just going to not pick that. You can put any numbers you want, right? So why don't I pick something nice like 4? I put in a 4 and I get 2. And give me one more. 9. I like it. And you get what? 3. Perfect. Now I'll graph those. 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, and 9, 3. That's the square root graph. And I bet you some of you have seen that before. Some, maybe only a few. Okay. Well, just like the parabola is like that U shape, there's also one that's a V shape. You guys know what the V shape one is? That one's absolute value. So that's the last one. I'm not going to make you make a whole chart for it and everything. I'm just going to give you a quick sketch. I understand you have... Somebody has to leave early, don't they? Maybe that wasn't this hour, different hour. Okay, absolute value. V shape looks like this. If you had to move, you could always make an XY chart and you could put in like 1 and get 1, -1 and still get 1, 2 and get 2, -2 you still get 2 because the absolute value makes it positive. And that's where all these points come from. It's kind of like a parabola except it's more of a sharp turn. Straight lines on each side. Does that make sense? Okay, those are the parent functions, and these are a big deal. There are 12 parent functions that you have to know for by the time you're done with pre-calc. You're going to learn 6 of them this year, and next year in pre-calc you'll learn the other 6. Okay, so these are going to keep coming back over and over and over.
What's
so
the 6th
memorize
this
them.
Year?
It all depends on how you count it, but the last one I want to teach you today, I want to stay focused on these for now, is a circle. I know you know what a circle looks like, but do you know what the equation for a circle looks like?
Isn't it like the R squared equals something?
You're doing good,
It's
actually.
like K and H. K plus.
You got all kinds of right things in there.
And then there's like X and Y.
All right, I'm going to give you,
Yes, no.
let's say
K and
that
H is like the point of like the.
is a 5. Radius of 5. Then here'd be the equation for it. You want to try to tell me what you think it is, or do you want me to just do it?
Then it would be like 25 equals.
There is it equals 25 in it, yes.
It's the point of the center of the circle,
Yeah.
which is like the K and H, and then it's
You're overthinking it.
minus, I don't know, and then it's like
X squared plus Y squared equals 25. That's the equation for this circle. Now the H and the K thing you're talking about, you're not wrong. When I move this center from being at 0, 0 to somewhere else, then you're going to have that H and K thing, and I'll show you what I mean. So imagine for a moment it's just a smaller circle and it's over here. Let's say it only has a radius of 1. And let's say its center, right there, that spot there, is at 9, 2. Let's see if you catch on to what I'm going to do here. X squared plus Y squared is equal to 1 squared. Does that make sense so far? Now how about the fact that I moved it way over here? It's over this far and up that far. Then it means minus 9 and minus 2. There's the center of the circle. And there's the radius.
pick a point on the
Kind of curious what you're talking about. Let's say I did pick a point on the outside of the circle. What do you want to know about that? Or what do you think we should do with that?
What are you trying to find out with the circle?
Okay, so what does this equation do? That's a very good question. What does this do? it gives you a bunch of points that are on the circle. If you keep putting in different numbers for x and y, and you make them work, then you'll find all the points that are on the circle. All right, let's see if you can go backwards. What if I said this? What do you think the radius of the circle was? Yes, 12. Okay, how we got that? It must have been a 12 squared at the end there, right? So then the radius must be 12. Okay, and then where was the center of this circle? It isn't at 0, 0. It's been moved. Do you feel like it's moved 2 to the right, 2 up, 2 to the left, or 2 down? The center of the circle. 2 to the right is correct. And it has a radius of 12, so it'd be like a really big, that's the worst circle in the world, but I think you get the idea. The radius of that would be 12. Okay, that's the last function you had to learn. Now, sadly, got to teach you some more stuff. Let me keep teaching you some stuff. This next thing is about domain and range. Oh, wait, and there's one more parent function. Darn. While I'm still on the parent function topic, let me teach you one more. 1 over x. This function also goes through 1, 1. Little known fact, almost every function that you ever learn will go through 1, 1. It's kind of strange. But think about it. Y equals x squared. When I stick in 1, I get 1. Y equals absolute value of x. When I stick in 1, I get 1. Y equals x to the third. When I stick in 1, I get 1. Do you get what I'm saying? 1, 1 is on pretty much every parent function. So it's on this one too. How do I know? If I made an XY chart and I stick in 1, look what happens. I get y equals 1 over 1, which is 1. So yeah, 1, 1's on all of these. But here's what's different about this one. This function gets closer and closer and closer to 0, but never will touch it in either direction. On the graph, we show this with a dotted line at 0 and a dotted line at 0 this way. And we say that the graph has asymptotes. I know this is a lot, and some of you are drifting. But you need to write this down or you're not going to remember it. Because this is the x-axis and everybody's going to think it was at x equals 0. But it's not. The x-axis is where y equals 0. And then there's some people that are going to forget horizontal versus vertical. Is that dotted line that's going left to right here, this dotted line here, is that horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. And it's called, the dotted line is called an asymptote. Now take a wild guess what this green dotted line is this way. Whoa, hold on a second. I went off pretty badly there because I was looking down at my recording bar. There. Well, that's the y-axis, Mr. Server. Should I call it y equals 0 then? X equals 0. And it's also an up and down line. What's the vertical? I'm sorry, I just said it. I was going to say, what's the name for that? Vertical. And last but not least, it's called a vertical what? Asymptote. A-S-Y-M-P-T-O-T-E. Okay.
Is it just in the case of this function?
No, anytime you see a dotted line where the function gets closer and closer to it and never touches it, that's an asymptote. You'll see more asymptotes on different functions. There's actually 12 functions, and there's probably at least 3 of them that have asymptotes in. All right, and I'm not done with this function because if you do some numbers that are negative, like for instance, if I put in -1, then I'm going to get 1 over -1, which is -1. So there's this spot, and that means there's one down here. Feel like you've seen that one before? That is the function y equals 1 over x. That is called the rational function. A rational is a number that can be written as a fraction. I'm going to rewrite this thing. I totally get like not feeling like you can concentrate much more. I feel the same way. We're going to make it through this. Just one more little topic. I know, it's a lot. But it's one of these deals where you don't have to have it mastered today. But I do need to introduce you to all of these things today. This last one's called domain and range. So if I want to make the square root function, it looks like this. Its domain is how far does this function go when it comes to its left and right? Does it go forever in both directions? No. It only goes forever to the right. So the way I would write this is that it goes from 0 to infinity. And it can be 0. Pay attention to this part now. So I'm putting a bracket around the 0 because it can touch that. And it can't be infinity, so I'm putting a parenthesis around that. Stay with me. Copy this down. You need at least one good domain and range example for yourself. That was the domain we just did. Domain is about the x's. Take a wild guess what the range is all about. Wise. When it comes to the y values, this thing only starts at 0 and it just goes up from there. The range is from 0 to infinity. And what's the difference between a parenthesis and a bracket again? Parentheses mean it can't touch that. Like you can't get to infinity. It doesn't touch there. Bracket means it can touch there. My function touches at 0. So I say 0 bracket to infinity. Now, I'm not sure you really understood what we were doing there, so I'm going to give you one and I'm going to see if you can tell me what its domain and range are. I'm going to take this guy, move it up, and it's the square root function you've seen before. And I'm going to say that that point right there is at 1, 3. And I want to know what's its domain and what's its range. Hint, I want answers kind of like this. Write down what you think the domain and range are. I'm not right there. I'm wrong. I'm just trying to show you an example of how the range and domain look. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. And then we'll get into the Schoology quiz. I'll do a couple with you before we're done so they can start your homework. Once you started, my daddy always said you're halfway done if you get started. All right. I hope you said the domain is about the x and therefore it's about the 1 and it did not touch the 1, parentheses. Why did I tell it didn't touch? Because that's an empty circle right there. If that had been a filled in circle, I would have said it touched the 1. It didn't touch the 1. And I know that's kind of tricky. That's why I'm talking about it. And then it goes to infinity. Raise your hand if you had the infinity part right, at least. Okay, good. How many of you had a 1 there, but maybe had a bracket on the 1? All right. Now, try to remember, it's not just on numbers you use brackets and on infinities you use parentheses. It's not that. It's if whether it touches it or not. And you can't touch infinity. All right, how about the range? On the range here, it's the low to the high. So how low does it go? And then how high does it go? What's the lowest it goes? I get a ton of people who will say 1. No, that's the x, so 3. What's the highest it'll go? And you never can touch infinity. Can it touch at 3? Remember, it's an empty circle. It does not touch at 3, so it's parentheses. There's your answers to the domain and range of that one. Okay, now I believe we have covered everything you'd have to know. That's a lot of stuff. There'll definitely be some review before you take a test on this stuff. But that was a lot, I know, I get it. All right, so now let's get into the homework for today. I'll go through the first couple problems. One thing for those of you that at home that are watching the video for today, if you want to type in square root into Schoology, you say SQRT. That means square root of, like, say, x. That's how you type in square root. And what if you want to type in like x squared? X power of 2 would be how you type in x squared. Okay? Okay, that's all I have for the video for today. Now let me name it. You guys will find the little puzzle piece, the green puzzle piece thing. It's under today's date. And get the quiz started. And don't forget how to type in squared, because that'll happen right away.
And I have 1, 2, 3 tests tomorrow. Is there an activity
Leaving for infinity.
INF.
Did you say it was 10 or 5 years for this to like start going fast?
Oh, it's going to take, it'll grow, you know, like a little plant. But 5 years later, after it's grown roots for 5 years, then it starts growing 5 inches a day.
They're gonna keep it till then?
Just crazy.
Do you think it'll live in the
I
field?
don't think it'll ever get enough roots to do 5 minutes a day.
Yeah, you need a little bit bigger.
Out in a field, it could do that.
Yeah.
Or a huge pot.
Why do they grow over time, you know? Like, why do they like slowly get better?
Basically,
Oh, because the roots get
the
bigger,
root
right?
system gets to be
Yeah.
enormous, and they can take in tons of water that way and feed themselves.
Can I go to that?
Yes, you may.
I know, I pay like that much water. It's like, I take all the time. Wait, I don't know.
Yeah, but that one's not.